right. Welcome to For
Okay.
Educational Purposes. Recording live, deep in a bunker, surrounded by the undead. With me is my co-host Kyle, Lord of Darkness, who I got live via satellite radio. And from the string in the can with a little bit of tin foil is Gus.
Hello.
Hello.
How we doing, guys?
I'm good. I've got my can. I've got my string ready
All
to
right,
talk about
all right.
things.
I'm doing good. I'm a little worried. You gonna be okay down there? You gonna be okay in
Me?
that bunker, man?
Me or him?
Oh
The
yes,
one in the
I'm fine.
bunker.
I'm fine. You can hear the slight shamblings in the background. So our mission, guys, today is to bring some of the maybe lesser known or weirder true crime that a lot of people don't pay attention to. I got this fucking weird ass story from my cousins out in New Jersey. And I was telling Kyle a little bit about the details there, Gus. And I thought maybe you'd find this real interesting.
Oh,
It's,
if it's from New Jersey, it can't be good.
well, I from in my research, it sounds like New Jersey is full of serial killers. Uh, like at
I thought
least
that.
Well,
three.
what could
Well,
there even
where
be to
is
the
it full of
what could
serial
be in this
killers at
story
this
then
day and
even?
age, honestly?
Well, it's, she's a lesser known spree killer. Actually, one of the weirder ones. It's a female spree killer, Pamela
Lady.
Sue Voorhees.
Who is this again?
This is back in 1979. Um, so it was a little known serial or well spree killer who, well, you can also kind of call her a serial killer too because she killed about 8 victims, I think. Hold on, I gotta look it up. I actually wrote it on a different page because I'm a moron. I'm
It's
not kidding.
okay. In the
I'm not
meantime,
kidding.
I've
I'm
gotta
looking at my.
go. There's a demon in the room next to me.
Yeah, so it looks like it took 9. She killed 9 people. Like it's not a huge number. Like so.
Well,
I
for spree killers, though.
Yeah. So she killed about 7 people in her spree, but she had 2 previous kills beforehand. If I'm looking at my notes correct, though I might be tacking an extra one on.
So, was there like any particular reason she just go nuts and kill a bunch of people?
Yes.
What's her MO?
Yeah, is she just a serial killer? Is she just a spree killer or
Well, all killers have an MO. What is it?
Well, okay. So before we get into that, um, so her MO seemed to be mostly that's the weird thing. She doesn't really have one. So I mean, like I would really love to get into it, and the bigger reason I wanted to bring this in is because she's inspired not one but 3 other serial killers.
It's
Uh,
awfully influential.
yes, and which are episodes that I'd like to eventually get into, but in the same area, up to 3, maybe even more by some accounts, with what I've been reading into after this weird ass story found me.
Hmm.
So before we get into that, you have a news article, Gus.
Oh yes, I do. Here we go. Man dressed as Santa kills 9 at Christmas Eve party. A man enraged by his divorce dressed up as Father Christmas and went on a shooting spree at a Christmas Eve party, killing his ex-wife and at least 8 others. Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, 45, a devoted Roman Catholic and aerospace industry worker who may have recently lost his job, shot himself in the head hours after the meticulously planned carnage in Covina, California, 22 miles east of Los Angeles.
it brings
His
out the
mur-
best it brings out the best in us, doesn't it?
Yeah, doesn't it?
Gee,
Christmas.
Good old Cali and Christmas. His murderous
Jesus.
rampage began late on Christmas Eve when an 8-year-old girl opened the 2-story house's front door in the quiet cul-de-sac to find Pardo dressed as Father Christmas and carrying a large present. Jesus Christ. He shot her in the face before stepping over her
Fuck!
and using one or two semi-automatic handguns to spray bullets around the house, where 25 people, including many children, had gathered for the
I'm out.
party.
I'm out. I don't. Nope. I don't. Nope. Nope.
In a
Too
bid
Merry
to
real.
escape from
Christmas.
the
Too real.
massacre, people smashed
Holy shit.
windows to get out, cowered behind furniture, and scrambled upstairs. A teenager, 16, was shot in the back while a 20-year-old woman broke her ankle as she jumped out from a window. Those two and 8-year-old Those two and the 8-year-old child who opened the door remained in the hospital as the police removed 8 charred bodies. None of them could be positively identified until dental records are examined. Wow. It was unclear whether the gunfire, flames, or smoke had killed them. Jan Gregory, a neighbor, said she saw a teenage boy running from the house screaming, "They shot my family." The house had been consumed by fire within seconds after Pardo doused the building with accelerant and torched it as he fled. He was found dead at one of his brother's houses hours later. Brother had 2 houses, apparently. His
Gee.
car, parked nearby and containing ammunition, exploded on Christmas Day after he rigged it with explosives. Police said that Pardo was armed with at least one gun and fire accelerant in an elaborate contraption made from 2 pressurized tanks that was contained in his present. Wow.
Holy
This is
shit.
He
Are you
was
gonna tell
looking
me next that
primarily for his ex-wife Sylvia. Their divorce proceedings began in September and had concluded on December 18th, ending 2 years of marriage. Only 2? Okay.
now now
It
here I thought
was
you were about to say he was taken by some Krampus or something.
it
Holy
was not an
shit.
amicable divorce, said Lieutenant Pat Buchanan, a local police officer. The Associated Press reported that the court documents show that Pardo's ex-wife had received $10,000, their dog, and her wedding ring in the settlement, while he kept their house. Oh, okay, I guess. Pardo's attorney, Stanley Silver, said that his client was still trying to pay the $10,000 as recently as Tuesday after falling behind on support payments after he lost his job in July. His ex-wife Sylvia and her parents James and Alicia Ortega, an elderly retired couple who owned a spray painting business and who often invited their large family over for parties, were among the 9 confirmed dead. At least 2 people are still missing. Kim Ranney, the local police officer, said investigators were confronted by a scene that was just indescribable. 2 guns were found at the burnt down house and 5 near Pardo's body. He had died from a single gunshot wound. Police said that he killed himself after suffering burns on one arm. Investigators found an air ticket indicating that if he had not been injured, he would have attempted to flee to Canada. Pardo had no criminal record of history of violence, according to the police. He, his ex-wife, and her 3 children had lived in Montrose, 25 miles from her parents. Pardo remained there after she and the children left last spring. He was an usher at an evening mass at the nearby Holy Redeemer Catholic Church and was often seen walking the family dog or mowing the lawn. A couple of hours before the murder spree, he had told neighbors he was going to a Christmas party. Gee. Jan DiTana, head usher at the church, told the Los Angeles Times, "This is shocking. He was the nicest guy you could imagine. Always a pleasure to talk to. Always had a big smile. He had been due to serve at midnight mass when he carried out the attack." Gloria Magcalis, who for 11 years had lived next door to Pardo's in-laws in a well-to-do street in which each house had a swimming pool, said they were a big loving family. And that is where the article ends. Wow.
I was
Um,
afraid you were gonna say that he was taken over by some spirit.
Yeah, only in the real world.
uh, so when I asked you to like bring something in about Christmas, I thought maybe you'd do like a fairy tale about elves. Holy shit! that was
Yeah,
that's
just like
that was a little
and we
brutal. Shit.
and we can describe it, but just imagine it. You're just minding your own business, having a good time at a Christmas party. And this guy walks in, handgun, sprays everywhere. He throws accelerant, lights the whole house. It goes up in flames faster than you have time to react for. And minutes later, you're being cooked hotter than a Christmas ham. I mean, wow. And like the first person he shot was a little girl right in the head. Just boom.
Some
So,
would call that mercy.
Some
Jesus.
would call it mercy, but man, it's
So
impressive. And the thing is like nobody even knew. Nobody had any idea he was about to do it. It's like it's always the people you least suspect.
so morbid question. I have been burned and I have been drowned. I think I might rather burn than drown.
Okay, you know what? I agree with you. I almost drowned once as well, and I haven't been burned like bodily, but like my impression is burning would take a lot quicker than drowning to death. Because drowning, it's like you're choking, you can't get any air, and there's like um almost nothing worse than not being able to get any air. At least if you're
I
hot, you know you're gonna go.
You know, if if there was somebody who lived before I lived my life, a past life,
Hmm.
I'm starting to think that they might have just have had a great fear of water because I never touched the thing.
I dude
I
that
actually used to swim all the time.
I haven't given water the chance to betray me.
Well, I guess that's the best way you can prepare for this kind of stuff. If it doesn't have a chance to happen in the first place, it's never gonna happen.
Yep.
So,
So we're canceling the Christmas party?
Oh yeah, yes.
no,
Okay.
no, of course not. It's like if I'm gonna be shot, then honestly, I'd rather be shot by a guy in a Santa outfit because at least people are gonna be able to say, "Hey, he was killed by a guy in a Santa outfit."
No, no,
That's
no.
pretty unique.
Even better. Even better. You got killed by Santa.
Yeah, I got
I
killed by the real Saint Nick, or like maybe one of these Christmases I'll go out to Germany. I'll decide to be a little naughty, and our old friend Krampus will come out and say hey
see no no no.
and eat
If
me.
if my death had to revolve with Santa, I want Rocky 3 style Apollo Creed, not a Rocky 3. Rocky 4 style Apollo Creed fight where like you guys are like, dude, don't do it. He's too strong, and I'm like, nah, man, I can take him. Nah, nah, I can take him. And I get into the ring, and we just go toe to toe, and Santa just puts me down.
Oh, dude.
And
I'd have to I'd have to go with some jigsaw level of nonsense because if I get killed, I want to be killed by a smart man.
Okay, if I'm gonna be
ho
killed,
ho
I
ho
want to
ho
just
ho, Kyle.
go go
If you want to get
Santa.
out of this room, you're gonna have to take these candy canes and tear your rib cage apart and remove the key. Then
The best
drive the reindeer across the
the
frozen
best
tundra
the
to
best
sew
one
the
of
rest of your
those
guts back up. Ho
the
ho
best
ho.
one of those killings was when they have to saw off, they have to literally give a pound of flesh. That was always the best one if you ask me. But if I were to die, I'd want to go in a big crowd of people. I suddenly from below me, I suddenly start like sparks coming out, and I just shoot into the sky and explode in a bloody firework, like a bloody firework.
Wow, that
Wait,
was like
wait. I think I've got a better one for my saw-based Christmas death. I'm trapped in a room filled to the top with eggnog and I can't swim. So the only way for me to escape alive is to drink all the eggnog, which
I
a
mean,
room
who
full you
knows?
cannot which a room full you cannot survive.
I mean, who knows? They're still finding his stuff. Like he has tons of killing devices still out there that people who are followers of his just letting everywhere, just like finding all his killing devices, and he's got to punish people, and so maybe there is one like that out there. Just waiting for you. A big thing of eggnog. It's waiting for you, Kyle. You just have to go find it. Jigsaw left it for you, and you have to find it.
So I
Holy
guess we're going on a road trip soon.
I'm
Oh
sorry.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to mute my mic there. I couldn't stop laughing. Just that Christ, the idea of just you just slowly drowning in eggnog as Santa Claus watches from a monitor and laughs. menacingly.
No,
Ho,
no,
ho. No, no, I
no.
don't think
The
it'd be
box
jolly. I think it'd
is
be more
clear.
sinister. I think it'd be like ho, ho,
Ho
ho,
ho ho
ho,
ho
ho.
ho ho
Oh, wait a
ho
second.
ho
I
ho.
even know how I'd be caught by it.
And he'd just be standing above you, just ho ho ho
There,
ho ho
you know those
ho.
there's always those people dressed up as Santa accepting change for whatever donation fund it is.
Oh yeah, I was saw one of those guys the other day.
Of course. Oh! Don't go there again.
I've had I so what one of the ways that I think would be the worst ways to die for me personally is being torn apart like by sharks like Jaws style. And if I had to put Santa Claus in my worst way to die, then I would imagine it would be a reindeer that can swim under the snow, and I'm just like desperately trying to run out of the snow, and the reindeer are just like swimming through the snow like it's water, as I'm just like slowly
Hey,
circled and torn apart by reindeer.
that made me think about something. Have you ever heard the song "Santa Got Run Over by a Reindeer"?
I've heard of
Oh
Grandma
yeah.
And the
got ran over
reindeer
by the
is
rain.
on
Or,
top of.
Amazing
They're just,
movie.
they're just you know the song I'm thinking of from that movie, the one where they sing about suing Santa.
yes,
I mean, everyone dreams of suing Santa, right?
I'm gonna sue
Think
the
of how
pants
much you
off
could
of
get.
Santa, boys.
he never brought me
You know,
that fucking Millennium Falcon that I wanted as a kid, motherfucker.
I was the thing I wanted most from Santa that I never got.
What? I mean,
I'm
again,
trying to think of something.
it's the Millennium Falcon. Like so,
Yeah.
when they were re-releasing the Star Wars toys, they re-released the Millennium Falcon, and I'm like, that's the only thing I wanted for Christmas for a couple of years. I'm like, just the Millennium Falcon. I just want the Millennium Falcon. I don't care about any of the
Yeah,
figures.
I think
Okay,
there was a
maybe
lot
Han
of
Solo
people.
and Chewbacca, but
You know, I'd be curious. You know, it's Christmas is coming up. Us three, we've got to get together and just like light our Christmas place on fire and just sit by and just ask that guy, like, hey, Santa, where the fuck is our Millennium Falcon?
yeah, I think that's a good idea. Like we should
Well,
set an
wait, I think
elaborate
that
bear
might.
trap.
Well,
I think.
if we knock him off the roof, will we be the new Santa?
I think there's actually a problem. I think there's a reason we're not getting our Millennium Falcons.
Uh,
How many? How
look,
many ways can you divide?
he's
How many
such a
ways can
small
you?
thinker. He wants the toy. I want the actual Millennium Falcon. I
Oh,
just want to be able to go to far, far away
how,
galaxies and like chill with
exactly
my
my
buddy
point.
Chewie.
How many people want Millennium Falcons? How many ways can you divide a single functioning Millennium Falcon with it
Well,
still being functional?
I can be Chewie. Somebody else can be Han Solo. Chewie's definitely the more attractive of the two.
Can I
And
be R2D2?
sure, but you'll have to be like you won't be able to be taller than him. We'll shove you in the thing, and you'll just never
That's
be able
okay.
to come out. You'll ask us, Gus, can I really have to go? I really have to go party, and you're like, and we're just like, no, that is your bathroom.
Well, that's
Never
on you
leaving.
because I'm gonna do that in the cockpit.
Can
How
I
about
can I be Boba
what?
Fett?
Well, if you're Boba Fett, who's Han Solo?
I
Are
I
we
have
just did we just throw him, the carbonite away and we're just and it's just Boba Fett, Chewie, and R2D2?
yeah, fuck him. Fuck Han Solo. That I mean he shot second now. Fuck him.
Yeah, did he? Did they retcon it?
Yeah, remember in the special edition, now he shoots second. Yeah, it's stupid.
Oh man, that sucks.
Don't you remember when your favorite childhood hero
Was
was a
a
blood
cold
was a
blooded killer?
cold-blooded survivor and killer?
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
hey.
Actually, you
He
know
was
who would get through the
everyone's
saw?
cold-blooded
You know who
survivor
would
and
get through
killer.
You know who would get through the jigsaw trials?
What's that?
Who?
Han motherfucking Solo.
He
No,
would,
he
wouldn't he?
wouldn't. He'd
I
get
don't know.
cocky and his
He
head
didn't
would
survive.
explode.
He didn't survive Boba Fett. To be fair, he had to get Luke had to rescue his ass. Luke and Leia. Well, Leia tried to rescue him. She got captured too, and then Luke had to rescue them both.
So, just to let you guys know, every time we reference horror movies that we might do, I'm gonna have to edit this stuff out.
Okay. Well, okay. First of all, edit
Okay,
this
wait.
part
So
out.
this
But I was referring to Jigsaw as if it was real, if it was the real deal.
It's
all right. All right. So the greatest
oh,
horror movie we need to cover.
Yeah, I was intentionally trying to do that. Just cut
oh,
this part out, and
you know
we
what?
can return to talking
I
like
can just
regular
edit.
people.
Actually, I could just edit out. So we haven't talked. So you only have one reference to it being a movie, and then me pointing out that the whole thing. So I could easily. I've already written that note down so that
Well,
I can edit out what I've said.
yeah, I was
Okay,
trying to
wait.
keep it like it actually happened, like
While we're
Okay,
Virgil
okay.
while we're
finding his
while we're
puzzles.
off the clock, I do want to say one thing. Our great season finale needs to be the Star Wars Christmas special.
Oh, before we go back to being on the clock, I just thought of an idea. In one of these, I can call in like I'm actually in one. That'd be great. I'll just go out and find one and say, "Hey, I found the Jigsaw's killer puzzle." I'll be reporting in.
Actually I would love to do where like you essentially just be calling from your phone outside so you'd hear the wind and you're like, oh yeah, I'm
Oh,
calling
there's
on
wind.
location talking to say yada yada about like whatever horror movie. It was the original idea I had would have been when we do Monster Squad, when we get like super meta, is that's when we like we're out talking to these like, and basically we would play it up as like the whole town had a psychosis. We'd just get a couple of people we know to talk to about like the situation, or like it was just a bunch of kids, they freaked the fuck out, some meth head like
But
fucked up the town, that kind of thing.
yeah, but anyway, it's time to let's get back on the case of the Voorhees lady.
Oh yeah, here, I'm gonna write
Or
The Voorhees lady?
I don't remember her first name. It was
well,
Pamela.
hold on, I'll
Then you
reintroduce it.
mean Miss Voorhees?
Hold up, stop.
Hammer time?
Do 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 touches boo do do he touches.
Out of context cut right there, by the way, out of context cut right there.
Oh, okay, we're back.
Yeah,
Back then.
okay.
So anyway, keep going with the person you were talking about,
Okay.
Ken.
So we're back on the rails. So, real quick before we get into it, I want to thank my cousin Betsy and her husband Kevin about getting me these details. She got me some like scans of like some news stories, and she talked to a couple of the like townies and shit like there to get some of the stories. I did get some of the official records on some of these kills or shit. Sorry, murders. It's weird because like I'm sorry, doing the research on it is really hard to like like decipher like the myth and the real story. Like I can
Mm-hmm.
give you some details that are like secondhand that might be grisly but might never have happened at all. I can give you the official records of like what was reported on how each person died.
Well, do you have the truth?
I do have the truth, but I'm also going to give you a little bit of what some of the people said too, just to give you a little heads
I
up.
don't know. That may be part of it. I think half the fun of these urban legends is seeing what people come up with, and like maybe the legend grows to fit the expectations. But give us everything. I want to hear
Mm-hmm. Okay,
from the
so
beginning.
now the person we're looking at is Pamela Sue Voorhees, originally born 1930 in Wessex County, uh, yeah, Wessex County General, nearby Crystal Lake, where the story would eventually end. She was originally born Pamela Sue Doris. I couldn't really find any information on her parents. Like, there's like little to no information on her parents, to be truthful. I mean, because a lot of the records as far that back, you can't really get too much information. Um,
What if what if she is just a mother?
Well,
um,
I don't know if like her history has
well,
anything to do with it.
Kyle's jumping ahead a little bit after what we were discussing earlier, but so here's some of the details Kyle doesn't know, or Kyle. Well, I shouldn't say that Kyle doesn't know. I can't remember how much Kyle was listening to me because I know he was talking about something else, and sometimes I don't say everything. I'm bad about that sometimes.
Okay.
That's why I write notes down this time.
Write notes.
So in 1944, so for those of you doing the math, she's 14. In
Okay.
1944, she marries Elias Voorhees, a miner from Cadiz. Hold on.
Kate is.
Uh,
I
Which
see it.
which type of mine are we talking
He's
about?
like
Coal
a minor
miner.
as in a kid. Oh, Cole. Okay.
It was a coal
How
miner.
much older?
I just
What's
typed
the
the
age
name of it. It's
difference?
Cadiz.
Yeah, I know. What's the age difference between the two there?
As far as I can tell, they were roughly about the same age, 14 and 15, or 14 and 14.
So he
Okay.
was a miner.
Yes, he
He
was a
was a
minor
minor
minor.
minor.
He was a minor 49er, but he had no daughter, Clementine. Um, they lived in a trailer nearby by the mine that he worked at. He was
Okay.
considered, by all accounts, to be kind of an aggressive and shitty dude. So,
So trailer trash.
yeah, okay. So this is purely conjecture. A lot of this comes from what a lot of people said about her,
Mhm.
and a couple of news clippings about drunken fistfights going on this time. And so there are diaries and stuff like that, which I can probably pull up the clips of them. I didn't think about pulling them. There are these weird diary things that they had um, at their local library. She told me about. She was going to try to record them for me, but I don't. It sounded kind of weird. Like it was part of the public records you can go take a look at and stuff like that. Um, which is just fucking bizarre to me. Um, so by all accounts, he was an abusive bum. Didn't spend most of his money drinking. Again, conjecture by what the people are saying. Um, Now, what I could trace back is in 1945, when she was just 15, she was pregnant with,
Ooh.
hold on, shit, I wrote the note down here. Her first child, Diane.
Okay.
Um, but she was forced to give it up for adoption, which she gave it up to a distant relative who still lives back in New Jersey by the name of the Kimballs. Um, as far as all the stories can go, she lived a pretty boring life until her rough 20s, 30s. In 1993, she was murdered by an ex boyfriend. Well, not just an ex boyfriend, but the father of her child.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna, real quick,
Wait, who was murdered?
her daughter
Oh,
that she
okay,
gave
cool.
up for adoption.
I mean, not cool, but
Not, yeah,
I
no,
understand.
yeah, she was murdered by her. So yeah, real quick, I'm gonna give you a heads up. This lady's life, a lot of the people who've ever been real
It's a
close to her,
flaming train
yeah,
wreck
yeah,
that
yeah.
went off the rails.
Her daughter, for all intents and purposes, or as much info, I don't. I'm fucking dumb. I don't know if I use that. I just realized I'm not gonna use that correctly, so I'm gonna just bail out
Okay.
and just be upfront. I'm dumb. I'm sorry. But
Okay.
for as far as I can tell, she had no contact with her daughter whatsoever.
Okay. Okay, but she killed people. Why did she kill people?
Well,
Let's get to the good
I'm
part.
getting there. I'm getting there. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, she was pretty much forced to give up for adoption because the family couldn't handle it at the time. Um, but something didn't stop her from becoming pregnant immediately after that. Um,
Okay.
this is when the first accounts of her insanity apparently are popping up. Now,
Okay.
this is purely stories from the townies now, right now. So
Okay.
the story
Maybe it was
goes,
a good thing.
When have the townies lied before?
one of the townies lied before. So the story
Maybe
goes that Pamela could hear the words of her unborn baby psychically at night while she was being beaten by the daddy. Um,
If she was being beaten, I question how she even knew. You know, pretty easy. You're pretty fragile in that state. But I
uh,
guess I'll buy.
I it as far as I can tell, he wasn't too like this is gonna just sound gross. He just wasn't too mean. Jesus. Um,
He didn't do it to that extent. I guess you're saying.
no, but I mean, this is kind of clear when you start saying she's hearing the voice of the unborn child, but I mean, this is all coming from the conjecture of a townie. So I mean, and that brings in how
Yeah,
much
of
can you
course,
trust a
and like,
townie?
well, which mother doesn't psychically hear the thoughts of their children? Like, hey, don't you think you could smoke a little less, lady? Jeez.
Uh,
maybe maybe it was a blessing that the child had to be sent off.
so so well, she never. So as far as the records can go, she never said that about the first kid. But then again, that's why I'm thinking this is so maybe this is just purely the fucking the the this is how these like urban legends become eventually. Like this flowery legend this town came up with that's been passed down by the teenagers every year of the local high school. Probably what happened is she just got knocked up and well, so hold up. In the September of the year, she murdered Elias with an axe after a voice told her, quote, kill her, mommy. So, again,
Yeah, well, what little baby doesn't tell their mom, "Hey, you've got to go kill that guy." It's just something you got to do.
this is conjecture. As far as the information I can glean, I'm
Mhm.
sorry. I would love to keep going with this fairy tale and telling it as the people told me, but I'm going to cut in a little bit with the information I was given at the time,
Okay.
or at least what I could find, is that the only thing I can confirm is that Elias disappeared and was never found. The story goes she hacked him up with an axe, spread his pieces all over the trailer, lit it on fire, and walked away. All I can
She left
con-
it to nature.
all I can confirm is that their trailer went up in smoke and Elias disappeared.
Well,
From what the
he
people in the
he probably
town were
deserved it.
saying, he could have easily just dipped out because he was just a horrible drunk and a gambler. So,
Well, what are the chances that he disappeared in his mining?
mm, yeah. I mean, it was also common in a lot of those little cities back in that time for drifters to just get up and leave, and he could have easily just became a drifter because he didn't want to be a daddy. Um, so the disgraced, she leaves, going back home to New Jersey, nearby one of her cousins, to the little town where she will reside until the end of her story in Crystal Lake, New Jersey.
Okay. Well, we gonna cut ahead to the part where she starts killing people.
No, there is still a little bit more. Now, I
Okay.
would, yeah, you gotta ramp up a little bit. I mean, like you gotta have a little bit of foreplay. You can't just get into the blood and the guts right away. That's how these little stories happen. Like that's how
Oh,
these
I don't
little
know.
fairy tales go. You can't just go, it was a dark and stormy night, and these dudes got diced the fuck up. All right, are you guys ready for some Chick-fil-A? I'm hungry.
What?
Now, are we talking pork or long pork?
uh,
It's Chick-fil-A, not pork fillet.
ugh, I wasn't talking. Oh man, I can't think of serial killers right now. I'm dumb. Fuck. I'm, I'm also a little toasted. I'm sorry. So,
I mean,
but anyway.
who
Yeah, but anyway, we're not like you can't just jump right into to her spree. You got to set up why she does it. Like that's
Well, I guess I understand where I've been going wrong.
so. I, yeah, well, I mean, I gave you those pointers at one date. Don't make me regret it, okay? Um, no, no. Well, you got to understand. Like this story, the way I'm telling the way the story goes, and the story goes up is that there's a build up from what was written in the official statements. This story kind of corroborates a lot of this information, which I mean, there's probably more realistic reasons for these kind of things, but so anyway, she went back to Crystal Lake. Oh, sorry, no, wait, sorry, no, my cousin thing was wrong.
Okay.
She went back to Crystal Lake because my note says she was living in her car. I mean, maybe that's one of the. Maybe that's where there's. Okay, so there's. Here's. Oh, okay, yeah, I know what this is. So one of the story goes is that she was living in her car while she was pregnant, working as a fry
Uh-huh.
cook. Some reports go that she was living in a little one-bedroom with her cousin while she was trying to earn enough money as a fry cook. Um, Either way, this led to her meeting David and Louise Christie, owners of a newly reopened campground.
Okay.
Um, she impressed them with her skill and her ability to cook, and she was asked to go work for them at the campground that would house roughly 75 kids. It would be a like big job. It would be a good money at the time from the sound of it. And then apparently the stress um, was too much on her because she gave birth. Well, her water broke right then and there. So on June 13th, 1946, which by the way
Okay.
was a Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Always
Yes,
the
yeah.
best day.
She,
Everything you
yeah.
do on that day is
So
breaks
on
mirrors.
June 13th, 1946, she went into labor and gave birth to a boy named Jason. Now, so here's a couple of things. The story goes that the boy was born disfigured, much like Lincoln. As a baby, he was born all gangly, but they said his face was quote mongoloid. Although, FYI, mongoloid is not a real thing. It may have been he may have been born with some form of Marfan syndrome, which is what people
The
believe.
hunchback
Which,
of
well,
New
that's
Jersey.
actually what some people believe Lincoln was born with, and it
Okay.
takes you have to work really hard to make sure that you don't. Lincoln basically like went chopping trees. That's why he was such a badass. But
Now here I thought it was just the tall hat that fixed it.
I had no proof
tall hat
about
and the
my
beard.
knowledge of history. I had no idea Lincoln that was a thing.
so so the next part is well, okay. Shit, I just wrote another note. Or well, it just not. I just wrote another note. Fuck, I am reading ahead and I'm messing with my own like rhythm there right here. So anyway,
Okay.
so what? Okay, so my thinking is that so the notes that I got,
So
well, at least the notes that I was given is some people said that she had a C-section was giving birth, and that the child's disfigurements might have been attributed to some kind of botched C-section. But again, that's just conjecture about with townies, and again, the great debate of whether you can truly trust a townie. My vote is maybe.
I mean, looking at me and my brothers, that's probably true that would disfigure you.
Well, I'll tell you this: a townie once told me where to get the best breakfast burrito in Arkansas, and I fucking trusted him, and I got the best fucking breakfast burrito in Arkansas.
Townies generally do know about breakfast burritos, to be fair.
Breakfast burritos and beer.
Beer.
Yeah. So now, things went relatively easy. Pamela, while working this job at the summer camp, was making enough money to put Jason into a daycare at the time to be taken care of. He had a nanny, which, uh, as all like I said, all accounts I can at the time, that was pretty good money. But on June of 1957, which Jason would be roughly 11 years old, um, the nanny, uh, Mrs. Cunningham, which, uh, from what I'm told, is like they've been notorious that they apparently knew the people who, they might even be related as far as I can tell to the Voorhees. Um, Jason was caught torturing kittens,
I
specifically
mean,
breaking their
like,
legs and skinning them alive.
that's a pretty sure sign. Like, just how a kid skins kittens, a future carpenter will build little birdhouse. So we can be
Oh,
pretty sure what he's gonna be.
oh, are you saying he would have been like one of those like manly outdoorsmen, like he was just practicing hunting buffalo and stuff like that on kittens? Or
I'm thinking, if he was gonna be that way, he'd be doing buffalo, not kitten.
well, I mean, like if he was the president, we would just be
I'm just
calling him
saying,
Teddy
best
Roosevelt. I
case
mean, come on, think
best
about it. Let's
best case scenario, he becomes a taxidermist, and that is best case scenario. I'm not gonna think about the worst case scenario.
be, best case scenario becomes a taxidermist. That's
That's
fucking.
never a good scenario for the world.
That's never. Fuck. That's fucking. I fuck you. Know, I. Oh. Okay.
What?
I gotta. I literally do not know how to respond to that. Like that broke my brain for some reason.
I mean, kind of signed on when you asked me.
Kyle, Kyle, um, you're gonna give me a small heart attack someday. I hope you know that.
Is it going to be a good way to die or a bad way to die?
Um,
It's better than a big heart attack.
It's better
yeah.
than being killed by Santa. You died laughing.
Ho ho ho.
So, Kyle, did you? Okay, hold on. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So let's get right back to it. So after Jason was caught torturing animals,
Okay.
um, now one would expect that a mother should react negatively when she catches a child torturing animals. So from what the story goes, Pamela encouraged him.
Hmm.
Well,
Now,
I mean, if she killed people with an axe, the reports go, then that makes sense.
I mean, again, this might just be all stories to paint a seriously mentally deranged person much worse. But so what I can account for is that she moved him out of daycare and moved him onto the site of the campground, which resided on Camp Crystal Lake, which was some little lake on Jersey, as far as I can tell, becomes a mud hole. Oh yeah, hold up. Let me write this time down.
For whatever reason, I was trying to keep quiet about this and not break the immersion, even though we're
Oh,
probably going to have to redo that bit.
yeah, I'll let him back in. There
Okay,
you
I'm
go.
back.
Okay,
Sorry.
what was the last thing you heard?
Mentally deranged. Always a good sign.
I will have have to remember that. Mentally deranged.
But anyway, keep going on.
Okay.
I'm still present.
Uh, so as far as we can tell, he was living. Pamela has moved Jason onto the grounds of the campground, is what I can confirm, at least. Uh,
Okay.
there,
So he's living there
yeah.
like any normal boy.
Now, this, as I was telling you about, is the
Mhm.
point which I believe deeply pushes Pamela towards the murdering. Um, Shortly after living there, Jason would come to drown in the lake while supposedly being supervised by two camp counselors. He was teased by the other children for having a disfigurement. Um, he was chased into the lake, and the kids threw him out in the water. He did not know how to swim, and the story goes,
Those are some fucked up counselors to have
yes.
watched this happen.
Yeah.
Now, yes, um, the quote that my cousin gave me an exact quote from some hillbilly at a gas station who claimed to be there. He
Yeah.
said, "Fuckers off getting high and nailing each other," was the
Oh,
reason.
okay. So that makes it even better.
Yes,
They were
yeah.
in the process of boning while he was drowning.
See, now I believe this to be dead on true because this is actually confirmed
Well,
by
that
Pamela's
camp counselors.
confession later on, but she then went on to murder the two camp counselors who were supposed to be watching them. A couple that I could. So I got both of their last names, but I'm going to keep the victims' last names out unless I have nothing else to go by.
I
In
think it's
most
fair.
cases, but Barry and Claudette brutally with a machete. And
So she
Kyle,
kills him.
did you get that information? You said you were looking over some of the notes my cousin texted you about, like how some of the townies described it, or did you not get those?
I'm afraid they didn't go through.
Okay, because I got one. So um, they were brutally murdered with a machete. Now the one of the townies described it as she cleaved the head straight off and diced the dude up like spam.
So
Now,
she got head then. They gave her head.
Yeah, yeah.
so how strong was this lady?
I, I honestly, I think she probably just got. As far as I can tell, the report was that one person's throat was slit, while the other sustained multiple stab wounds to the abdomen. So I believe one bled out, unable to move, because getting stabbed in the gut is pretty nasty, and uh, you hardly have the energy to stand up and fight.
Well, gut. It was like you get been punched in the gut. Yeah. Well, imagine being stabbed in the gut.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like I know it
And
used to be if somebody got shot in the gut during wars and stuff, they'd just kill them right there.
I'm betting.
So, so psychopathic woman psychopathically kills her husband, has a psychopathic child. Child is killed, so she psychopathically kills camp counselors.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
And of
Um,
I
course, the
mean,
townies talk it
I think
all up.
the counselor should definitely have like let's say they lived. They definitely should have been charged like with serious neglect leading to death. But I don't think they deserve to die.
so there is a bit of a sad note though.
Okay.
Now, um technically technically Pamela admitted to these murders
Mhm.
to the victim of one of the victims, the only surviving victim of this event. So wasn't enough to get off the drifter who was blamed for those murders. Um,
Wait, so she confesses to the murders. They still blame some drifter anyway?
well, here's the problem though. The only thing they have to go by is um, a secondhand account of it. Pamela might as well have been lying. Could have been lying. She might have
So
been
they
lying.
had no physical evidence, basically.
No, maybe I mean
Okay.
fuck. Maybe she paid those. Maybe she paid the drifter.
Maybe.
And so the drifter was the second witness.
No, no, no. Um, as the drifter claimed that he wasn't anywhere nearby. It as far as I can tell, there's very little information. So I mean, she could have killed them. The only reason I presented it that way was because honestly, like looking into the whole information about the drifter, it doesn't seem like I couldn't find. So you're talking about. I do want to preface it again. Reiterate, not preface. Fuck that would have came at the beginning. I'm dumb. Shit.
Okay.
Let me let me reiterate. Better word. I'm trying not to use too high of a words that my dumbass might fuck up. So,
Okay.
let me reiterate that a lot of this information is back in the 50s. This is the summer of 1957. It was shortly after Jason turned 11.
Okay.
A lot of this information is going by newspaper clippings. I can confirm that a newspaper clipping is that a drifter by the name of Sam. I can't read it. It's kind of worn. Sam something another was accused or was arrested for the murders of the two camp counselors, although no real police records or evidence is up because it was just kind of a small town thing. Um, and Pamela herself just kind of claimed that she went in there and killed them with a machete, and the morgue just gives the information of how she killed them. No, I'm okay.
Okay.
So you know what? I know I give shit about being a skeptic, but I think I just did that thing where like I made an assumption that I knew what the story was about. Like I mean maybe the
Yeah.
drifter I mean maybe the drifter did kill them. Maybe she did kill them. As far
Maybe.
as I can tell, the story is very rough and hard to track down at that point.
I mean, it doesn't
Well,
seem we have physical proof, but
was
I,
anybody cut up into cubes?
if
Uh
based on the
no.
context of if she cut her husband up into cubes, she probably cut the teens up into cubes as well.
Again,
Just
this is theatrics. We have three unconfirmed kills. Like while Pamela admits to all of these are still three unconfirmed kills. Um, I want to attribute them to her because they sound like she really fucking did it. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna lie. It really does sound
I
like
mean, her son just died. Why wouldn't she do it? Like, what reason would this random drifter have to kill these kids? Like, and the amount of strength it would take to chop somebody's head off with a machete is immense. But like, weirder things have happened. If a mother was like thrown into that motherly rage, I think she could do it. I mean, it can't be harder than giving birth, right?
yeah, that's true. Um, I it, of course, you know what? Yeah, it's true. I I could easily see I could easily see a mother going into a blind rage, looking
And
to
and like, furthermore, she encouraged her kid to skin kittens.
that is true. Again, we're going by what Mrs. Cunningham had told people. If
Yeah.
in fact Mrs. Cunningham could be trusted, I tell you this: I would trust a townie before I would trust a fucking Midwest or a fucking housewife.
Dude, I honestly, yeah, town he has a lot less to lie about.
They talk
But anyway,
so much shit. I used like as a kid, like if
well, what's a townie got to protect?
yeah, a townie don't give a shit. A townie wants to tell you because they have fucking shit they want to dish on like oh did you hear? Hmm.
A townie wants to make a secret no longer a secret.
No, he wants gossip. He
But
he wants
but
that
a
moment.
housewife but a housewife wants secrets. I mean, you don't go living your life telling your neighbors about how your toilet got backed up.
No. A housewife is gonna tell you like, oh, it got backed up because she's been cheating on her man and she's been using white and she's been flushing the condoms and like they'd be talking behind each other's back and shit like that. Like I heard housewives talk like, dude, when you sit down and read a book and like a pair of housewives sit next to you, oh, no matter where you are, like if you're on a bus or if you're sitting and waiting for an appointment and you're just sitting reading a book, two housewives will sit right next to you and just like outright and fucking dish. I could not help but listen to these two ladies fucking talk about some stupid ass shit between them when I was taking the piss test for the last time I applied to a job. Like that was my last job I applied to. I shouldn't say it like I did multiple
This
fucking piss
this
tests.
actually does raise up an interesting question.
What's that?
What lie could be so terrible? What action could be so terrible that a mother would lie and say that she was the one who did the murder?
Yeah, I honestly don't see what reason she has to lie. Like, what? I don't get what anybody has to gain by lying about who killed these guys.
I okay.
I mean, other than
Well,
the
I mean,
story.
I want to believe it. I want to believe she killed them because, like, I mean, this makes her seem so much more demented, and especially when I get to the end, when I
That's the narrative.
when we close the circle, this becomes
Well,
so much more bizarre.
well,
Okay.
what about this terrible alternate idea?
What's that? Sorry.
What if the what if the son what if the son actually killed the camp counselors,
Son is dead.
and the mother is the one who drowned the son for doing such a terrible thing?
Well, Kyle,
But her
did
son is a but
Well,
her son is a
mm,
beautiful thing to her, so of course she lies to protect his case. Say that he died an innocent death.
I don't. The kid's dead.
well
She killed in vengeance for the kid.
the the two teenagers were murdered sometime, well, actually several days after Jason had drowned.
Oh, okay. So like they've dated the time.
Yeah,
So
it's several
that
several
kind of shoots
days.
Kyle's theory out of the water.
But Kyle, I don't know if you're jumping ahead a little bit because there's a big old shamalami on twist coming up.
Okay, let's
Uh,
go. Let's
um,
bring it on.
so the camp was then closed after that, and it was given the nickname Camp Blood
Camp
because
Blood.
it
Who wouldn't
had
send their kids there?
yeah that's
Well,
so
I know lots of kids who would want to go there.
oh I
I
Divide with it
mean,
though.
yeah.
weirdos like us probably would. We'd just be like, I want to go to that camp.
Oh, we would go there and we would record about how creepy it is out there, and then
And then a monster would burst out of the forest and kill me because they always kill me first. Um, can't decide if Ken or Kyle would survive, but anyway, go along.
I I mean I am a stoner, so I think maybe I'd be taken out pretty quickly. I mean I'm
Yeah, Kyle does seem more like the one to live.
so anyway, the camp was
Probably
given the nickname Camp Blood and was forced to shut down after 3 deaths.
Okay.
Now, The camp stayed in relatively closed state from the years of 1957 for a little over 10 years, 12 exactly,
Mm-hmm.
to 1979 when the Christie's son, which I couldn't find a name, so he's just referred to as Mr. Christie, reopened the camp.
Okay.
Um, the story goes this enraged Pamela.
Okay.
She had asked Mr. Christie not to open it, um, but she he refused. Sorry, he refused her, and this is
And she
the.
barged through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man and killed more teenagers.
We're gonna give Kyle a break. What's up, Kyle?
I actually think I found the thing to stop it from, like, cutting out my audio or something.
Your audio's not cutting out. Are you?
You keep saying things and we're not responding.
Well, no, I actually can't hear you guys sometimes, I think because I'm breathing.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
And I think I just fixed it, but it's gonna take a little bit of time to see.
Okay.
Okay.
Communications. All right. So sorry about that.
No problem.
Resume.
Let
3,
me. No, hold
2.
on. Let me. So this is the event that starts off the killing spree that takes the life of Seven.
Okay.
So the events of this spree start roughly an hour before a storm. As when I go to track the meteorological media, med, someone please help me with the word.
What?
It's a meteorological storm.
Weather,
Meteoro. Yeah,
weather information. Fuck, I'm
meteorologist, so
yeah.
meteorological.
Anyway, so it started roughly an hour before a large storm rolled into the area.
Okay.
She came across a hitchhiker by the name of Annie who was coming to the camp to work as a counselor.
Okay.
The report is that she picked her up, drove her down the road, tried to attack her in the car. She got out. Pamela chased her down and slit her throat.
That's one way to do it.
Um, so her next murder. So some of these I have very little details on besides the name and what she did to them because that's all I could get off of the police report. Is she then her next victim is a man by the name of Ned. His throat is then slit. Oh, by the way, this is now the moment where it just starts downpouring. So she's pretty much using this as cover to move around the
Well, they
camp.
can't really hear her if it's
Yeah.
downpouring. Like if you've ever been in a East Coast, East Coast storm, they get pretty heavy.
Yeah. So her next victims are a pair of lovers by the name of Jack and Marcy.
So yeah, they're basically, if you do the deed at this camp, you get your head cut off with a machete.
So this one's a little morbid because so the story goes that she was hiding underneath the bed with an arrow and she stabbed it through his neck. Now, yes, that's I.
Talk about penetration.
it so that's the old wives. So there's a story that the kids tell. This is something one of my cousins was joking about with me, is that the kids tell the story of Pamela Voorhees, that like if your bed's too high up, like the ghost of Pamela Voorhees is gonna be underneath with an arrow, and that if she gets you faster than the clap is the the joke. Um, Now the re- the coroner's report that I could get did state that she in fact stabbed him through the throat with an arrow head.
Okay.
I'm probably guessing she just walked up behind him and just jabbed it into his throat, like kind of like side to side, like she's trying to like
Mhm.
going through the side. Um, Mary or Marcy, sorry, Marcy, she took an axe to the face.
I mean, of course. You know, that's what you get. I
Well,
guess.
Um,
that does actually bring up the question of how much force it takes to put an arrow through someone's flesh by hand.
Now,
Yeah.
I couldn't really find any pictures of Pamela Voorhees, but is anybody else like imagining her as like a
Just
6 foot tall
jacked.
Viking woman?
Yeah, just completely jacked. Just like.
I
Yeah, and when she says I did the murder, I did the murders.
I did the murders. I don't know why I made her a pirate.
Yeah, pirate killing mom lady.
Yeah, yeah,
I wow
yeah. So
shit. I went
six
pirate.
foot
Whoa.
broad-shouldered mother of a couple of dead children,
Rippling
for
muscles,
s-
you know.
for some reason isn't considered the murderer.
she. So I wonder who killed these teenagers brutally. Was it that drifter who looks like he's a reject from World War II because he has mental illness and no one wants to take care of him? Or do you think it's Helga, the 7 foot tall Viking woman who could rip a man in half with her bare hands?
Whoa, slow down. We don't want to be rude here. We don't want to presume anything of Helga.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay, keep going. So
Her
these two people
next,
are dead.
she then stabbed a woman by the name of Brenda, would be her next
Brenda.
victim.
Okay.
She then apparently confronts Mr. Christie because, as far as the reports can tell, there was no struggle, and she stabbed him multiple times in the stomach.
I mean,
She has
sure.
you know what I'm noticing is that she's kind of all over the place. I mean, I guess she
She
must
doesn't seem to have an MO. She just seems to want to kill these people bad.
like she prefers stabbing weapons. I've noticed because she hasn't used a gun once. But I mean, this is probably her way of like not getting caught firing a
I mean,
Well,
gun.
you can track a gun.
yeah, if
That
you were to shoot a gun, other people would hear you even in a rainstorm. Like if it
so
was in the same building.
she then plans to get the last two. To corner them, she cuts the phone line, sabotages the vehicles. She then
Before we had before we were always online wherever we were.
yeah, this is back in 1979. You're not
Back
gonna
in
get on
these
Twitter and tweet about how bogus it is. You're being hunted down by Olga, the
Okay,
Viking woman.
are we sure that this Voorhees woman wasn't in a war herself? It really is
well,
shaping up like she's
she
been
was
through this all.
she was a woman in
This
the
is like
50s.
some was was this some kind of like Vietnam flashback for her because of the rain?
Well,
uh,
she was a lady in the 50s though.
I was gonna say, I mean, the story goes she got beaten by her husband pretty viciously a lot.
Kind of had to fend for yourself then.
So
Anyway,
the
so she kills the guy who opens the thing, and then what? Is
um
that her last kill?
no, her last kill. Wait, who was the last kill I spoke about? Yeah, was Mr. Christie. She stabbed him
Okay.
repeatedly in the stomach. No. So at this point, there's only two more victims left in the campground.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I forgot to write this down. Luckily, there was no kids on the campground at this point. This was as they were preparing, if I remember correctly, for the next batch of kids.
She was doing
or
the
the
mercy.
for
She was preventing anybody from drowning. I
yeah.
guess.
She then lures out her final victim of the two people left. She lures out Bill, the
Bill.
victim Bill.
Just all these names, and suddenly it's just Bill.
It's Bill. I Actually, I didn't even have a last name. This guy was just Bill.
That's fine. Go ahead
Um,
with
she
Bill.
slit his throat, and then it looks as though she confronts Alice. Okay, so this is actually on the accounts I could find. Is Alice states that Mrs. Voorhees, uh, Mrs. Voorhees confronted me, admitted to the murder. Blah blah blah. Hold on, Chia. So yeah, she confronts Mrs. Alice. She confronts Mrs. Voorhees confronts Alice. I'm getting tongue tied. I'm sorry. Mrs. Voorhees confronts Alice, then goes to attack her. Alice flees and then defends herself and then proceeds to kill Mrs. Voorhees,
Oh,
ending
right.
this tragic woman's life. Um, the townies say this is where the that one moment that maybe you should question the townies storytelling is she died in the most spectacular, sorry, not spectacular, the fuck did I crossed spectacular out because I think he mispronounced it, in the most,
Specular?
yeah, I wrote,
Oh,
I think I wrote
speculate.
phonetically what he was saying. She died. She died as metal as any killer would, with a decapitation of a machete.
Metal as fuck.
Hmm.
Now the so ends the story of Pamela Sue Voorhees, a very tragic woman whose entire everyone who's been close to her has suffered greatly. Now,
Seems a little too poetic.
well, as I said before, the story gets even more bizarre. As Kyle alluded to before, Jason did not, in fact, die. Um,
So
so,
where's he been for 20 years?
well, so I do eventually. He's one of the serial killers I would love to get to. Now, I think he's a story for a
I'm
whole
not sure.
nother day, but like
Hmm.
this is where the story gets so bizarre. The reason why I wanted to bring this character in is because I do eventually want to do uh
Kyle's indicating we need to pause.
So where has he been all these years?
I'm
And I'm just thinking underneath the water, and I'm like, oh, who lives in a pineapple under the sea? SpongeBob SquarePants.
I was
Horse
trying
and yellow as horse is he.
I was trying to get to it, Kyle. Give me a second.
I'm sorry I needed to do that.
Okay, so I'm gonna cut back. No, you know what? I'm not gonna leave. I'm not gonna. No, I'm not cutting that, Kyle. That's staying in. You know
That
what?
is.
You wouldn't let me finish. You wouldn't let me finish. I'll tell you where that fucker was. Apparently, some asshole saved this stupid kid out of the water. And
Oh, so he's not a zombie. Kind
no,
of disappointed, honestly.
zombies aren't real. So
You say that, but like, aren't you currently surrounded by zombies at this moment?
I
Well, what he's surrounded by is something a little different than zombies.
yeah, they're more
Okay,
like
fine.
they're more like they look more like they're got rabies or something. It'll go in. It'll probably go away in like 28 days. Like 28 days later, we'll figure this
When
out.
you're 1 year from now, when you're wandering our apocalyptic wasteland of zombies, ghosts, demons, and everything the world has to offer,
And politicians. And politicians.
I strike
politicians,
one, Kyle. Strike one.
and remember, you said zombies aren't real. When you're when you're fighting somebody for the last can of beans, when you're stabbing that poor guy in the head because that's the last can of beans there is. Just remember, you told me zombies aren't real.
Anyway, no. So the story goes that when Jason drowned, he was pulled out by oh shit, I forgot to write the name down. So when Jason was drowning, he was saved by a man named by Deuce Hill. Deuce Hill pulled.
Dropping the deuce.
Yes, it's Deuca.
So yeah, Deuce.
Yeah, Deuce. He pulled the young Jason out of the water and saved him from drowning. Now,
Okay. I mean,
this is
I get.
where some of the towny information. So as far as we can tell, Jason did survive. There's no there's no record of Jason's death whatsoever. Um, at the time, it was very common for runaways to just up and disappear. So Jason was never really presumed dead. He was just
Okay.
presumed missing.
So he just decided to spend some time on his own for a while.
So as far as I can tell, he lived in the woods nearby foraging. I am not shitting you.
Hmm.
You're kidding me. That's
No.
wow.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
Now, I
So
don't want
does
to hold
Jason
on.
come back?
Hold on. Before we delve into that fucking nutty story, we can save that for another day because
Yeah, I do. I do
I'm
have to get back to
I'm
my.
not gonna lie, there is a much deeper, much crazier, much nuttier fucking story there
Well, do
to
you want to
follow
save that
through
for
this.
next time?
Yes, I want to save that for another day because I did a little. I was going to add it on, like, cause I got up to the foraging part and then I started uncovering a fucking hive's nest of crazy events that uh transcribed or happened a bunch of shit that happened afterwards, dudes. Like that's uh
So
but
what? Something more than psychopaths?
you know what? Let's just say that's a story for another day. But
That's a story for another day.
yes. Now, what we can glean from Pamela is just extraordinary. Like it's so like okay, let's account for the murder. Let's say for sake of argument, her husband's murder and the two camp counselors are not her murders. She is a
Okay.
spree killer through and through. Um, she leaves a weird legacy that like ripples out to these. She was known to influence three separate serial killers, including one who claimed, or well, who was believed to be her son. There's no information saying whether that was or was not her son. We'll get into that story another day because this is very, very interesting, and I don't want to blow our load on that one. Like that's like the money shot of this story. Um,
Well, I find this a little confusing though.
what is that?
This is this is a housewife. Sure, maybe a housewife who might have chopped up her husband into how many pieces? But that part itself was conjecture. And the only way that the rest of the story can make sense is if it was actually true. With the amount of force it takes to put an arrow through a neck, with the amount of military knowledge it would take, and the amount of strength it would take to attack so many people, and so effectively, it really would only make sense if she actually did cut up her prior husband.
Oh, so I wonder if the
Well,
timeline lines up. Do you think maybe she was like a Nazi operative or some shit?
I
What?
mean, it might be the only way that this would make sense.
She's
I
like
mean,
she's
If she was just a if she was just an Illinoisan wife who
New
was into
Jersey or
fry cooking,
Ohio? New Jersey, or Ohio.
same thing.
Yes. Oh, fuck you. Ohio is way different than from Illinois. Don't make me.
A
okay,
housewife
so
and a fry cook,
World War
able to cut
II
people up.
raged from 39 to 45, so it definitely does fit with the timeline.
I mean, like that's my shot. In that she's like a Black Widow style, like super agent who was sent over here to infiltrate American government, and she just went nuts one day because her programming finally broke. Because like this could totally line up with them trying to do some kind of like MK Ultra type shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say
My
do that, but
my
like
personal
everyone's done
my
MK
personal
Ultra.
take on the thing is she's just a supernaturally strong trailer trash who just got yoked, went on a vengeance killing spree, and then suddenly her son came back because why not? The world works that way.
I
Vengeance and vengeance alone.
I
Yeah, maybe.
think
I mean,
she is an Eileen Warno style folk hero in the area that a mentally deranged man thought was his mother. But that's before I start to dig into the story. Let's hope
I I
we
think
get a
I
treasure
think
trove
this
of.
I think this is all crap. I think this is all spun up by the locals just so that people come and visit their haunted locations.
Well, I mean, these murders did like happen. Like I can at least verify the murders at the campground happens. I can't.
maybe it's simpler than we think, and maybe somebody just got like a really bad trip, killed a bunch of
I
people.
You know what?
But I think it happened
I think this
in the
was a
story.
poor delusional woman who lost her son, wa had a mental break, and then murdered a bunch of teenagers to keep other kids from dying, which is just bizarre to me.
Crazy idea. What if she actually
Maybe
didn't kill the husband and the husband was there all along?
Oh, the husband? Oh, maybe the husband's the
Maybe
one who helped?
maybe the husband maybe a
maybe the old drifter's the husband.
two-man job, May, two-man job or one-man job, maybe the husband was the one who did it. He's a minor, he's got the back strength to do it.
He's a minor.
He's under 18.
Not to mention a minor.
So
Do you think when
do
he
we wanna?
hunted down those poor teenagers he was wearing like a coal miner's mask and like a hard hat and everything?
I
Who knows?
mean, honestly, that might be a good enough disguise. I mean, they if anybody survived or even witnessed it, they'd say, "Oh yeah, a miner came in and killed everybody," and they say, "Oh, there aren't any mines anywhere."
Uh-oh.
Leaves the kids looking dumb.
You cut out
Well,
for
do
like
we?
a small second there, dang it.
Yeah.
You
Do
were
we?
on
I
a
said
Do
it.
we?
I
I
said
think
it
I'm
makes
gonna.
the kids looking dumb.
It
Yeah.
does.
Do we wanna leave it there and we can pick it up next time?
Uh that's good. You know what? Let's
Okay.
do we can do the closing out.
Okay.
Um so okay. What do you think, Kyle?
Too too complicated, too poetic. Honestly, just local stories to get tourists to come in.
What about you, Gus? Final thoughts on this?
It legit happened.
Well, I mean,
We know people are dead, but it was crazy that he goes and kills people.
yeah.
Happened. That's how it went down.
Um, well, I mean, I can confirm that there was murders.
Yeah,
I
what do
mean,
you think, Ken?
I, I, I don't think there's enough information to say that she killed her husband. I could honestly believe that she killed the teenagers because I'm not gonna lie. Just from hearing about these various attacks, I'm afraid of this woman. She really does sound like a Swedish Captain America. Like
Kids, if you
I've come
see
to
a
get
6
you.
foot tall lady rippling with muscles walking down the street with you, run.
It just looks Arnold Schwarzenegger from the '80s with
Lug hair.
long, flowing, luscious hair. I've come, I've come to another teenagers.
Don't come here if you want to live.
Don't, don't come
Don't
here.
come here if you want to live.
Come get chopped up.
Well, okay.
um.
I have to go seal the Demon King. So
Okay.
strengthen the bonds so that the apocalypse doesn't happen.
Gonna
Good luck
go
with that.
go make the blood seal.
I do it every day.
That's okay.
It'll be fine.
Well, before you go, I want to say thank you guys for recording. Thank you for everyone listening to this pilot episode.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, if you would like to see more, or if you have some cases you would like us to tackle, we would love to take a look at the weird and the bizarre. Our goal here, our mission, is to give you the weird, the wild, the odd of true crime you won't hear anywhere else. So, from Gus, Kyle, it is I, your host, Kenneth, which I realize I don't
Wait.
think I said it at the top. We thank you for coming for education, or for educational purposes only. Sorry, Kyle.
And don't forget, have a safe have some fun holidays. Or maybe don't. The safer holidays aren't had.
Merry Christmas.
And
Ho.
Ho ho
Ho,
ho 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 ho
ho.
ho ho.
and as a friendly reminder for the winter, if you find yourself being tracked down by a Wendigo, let go of all your past pain, for it is that driving that drives you to the Wendigo, to become the Wendigo. Have a good night, everybody.
Night.